Hi there. Tell me in the comments which country and city you're from. They fired me while I was elbow deep in the fuel line of a $9 million Gulfstream. No warning, no write-up, just Chad smiling like he was closing some real estate deal. He crossed the hangar floor in spotless loafers, HR behind him like this was a corporate boardroom instead of the same grease-covered shop where I'd spent 3 years keeping their planes flight ready. My name's Katie Monroe. I'm 33, living in Denver, and that morning I was finishing final checks on a custom rebuild I'd led from the start. 6 months of work, busted knuckles, and my signature tied to every bolt and diagnostic. Chad cleared his throat like a wannabe tech executive. Katie, got a minute? I stood, wiped my hands on my coveralls. What's up? HR didn't bother pretending to be polite. Let's step into the office. I followed, confused but not concerned. I was the person they relied on. Night shifts, last-minute calls, FAA drop-ins. Everyone knew I handled the jobs no one else wanted. They shut the door. We're letting you go, Chad said. I blinked. What? It's not performance-related, HR added quickly, flipping through a printed script. It's a strategic shift. We're moving toward a more forward-facing brand identity. I had no idea what that meant. Chad leaned on the desk like this was casual. We've reevaluated our culture. You've been great, but you're not the right fit. I let out a short laugh. Not a fit. I'd carried every major project this year. You have an hour to gather your things, HR said. We'll escort you out. That's when it landed. I looked right at him. Who's taking the Gulfstream? Chad didn't react. Alyssa is transitioning into a more technical operations role. I stared. Your girlfriend? The one posting plane selfies last week? She can't even spell turbofan. She's learning quickly, he said. I didn't argue. I walked back to the hangar. Security followed me like I was a problem. They watched me pack my toolbox and take down my notebooks, sketches, design templates, and diagnostic charts. Everything handwritten and mine. None of it digital. None of it stored in their system. They couldn't take what was in my head, or the 37 clients who called me directly and trusted me with their aircraft. My hands shook, but I didn't show it. I walked out with my gear, my phone, and everything that actually mattered. Next stop, my garage. I didn't even grab food. I drove home, parked, and sat there for a moment with the engine running. My coveralls smelled like jet fuel and hydraulic fluid, grease still under my nails. I hadn't spoken since leaving the hangar. Then I shut off the car, went inside, and got to work. First thing, I dumped everything on the kitchen table. 3 notebooks, my personal toolkit checklist, my old project folder packed with sticky notes, printouts, and handwritten labels. I grabbed my laptop and backed everything up. This wasn't revenge. It was protection. Every maintenance template I'd built, tire pressure logs, engine wear tracking, temperature logs from long-range flights, was mine. Stuff I created during overnight shifts, weekends in the garage, watching YouTube repairs, and cross-checking FAA documents for gaps others ignored. They never asked how I met deadlines. They were just relieved I did. Now they had Alyssa. And had everything they didn't realize they depended on. I scanned diagrams I'd drawn by hand, updated my color-coded parts sheets, reorganized files. None of this was company property. They never digitized it. Half the time, Chad didn't even know where project logs were unless I emailed them to him. Around 8 p.m., I pulled out my old phone and scrolled through saved contacts. 37 names. Clients and owners with jets worth more than most homes. Fleet managers who texted me at 2 a.m. about pre-flight anomalies. People who knew me by name. None of it was in their CRM. I paused, breathed, and opened my file cabinet for legal documents. My NDA was standard, signed 3 years ago when I left an underpaid shop in Pueblo. It had a 12-month non-compete, vague as anything. It said I couldn't directly solicit their clients for competing work, but nothing about building my own business and nothing about being fired without cause. Colorado labor laws aren't strict, and non-competes like that rarely hold, especially with no severance, no documentation, and no transition plan. I wasn't going after their clients. I didn't have to. I just needed to exist. By midnight, I had the basics online. Monroe Aviation Solutions, independent tech consulting. Simple layout. No sales push, no company criticism. Just bullet points. FAA compliance support, custom diagnostics, inspection services, private owner maintenance by referral. I set up a new email, created a clean LinkedIn profile, uploaded a single photo in front of a plane, me in a grease-stained hat, and published. Then I leaned back, arms crossed, looking at the site. I didn't share it, didn't message clients, didn't post online. That's what they'd expect, some upset ex-employee trying to poach accounts. Instead, I waited. I wanted them to realize what they'd actually lost. Because here's the thing. When a jet sits grounded at the wrong airport, or an FAA inspector asks about missing logs, or a plane fails pre-cert because firmware wasn't updated, no one thinks about Chad's strategy. And they won't rely on Alyssa's social media posts. They'll remember the person who showed up at 5 a.m. with a flashlight and the part already in her back seat. Me. So I left the site live, set my phone face down, and opened a beer. Let's see how long it takes. Halfway through the beer, my phone lit up. Hey, Katie, checking in. Everything okay? Heard something weird. Tom Bell, one of my oldest clients, owns 3 jets out of Boulder. Always straightforward. 2 minutes later. Hi, Katie. Sorry to bother you. Are you still with Summit Jet? Had a few questions about the last inspection. Fleet manager from Dallas worked with me for 2 years. Then, Katie, random question. Who's handling avionics now? And more. 6 messages in under an hour. All polite, all clearly nervous. I knew the tone. Something was already breaking. I didn't answer. I read each one carefully, then flipped my phone over again. One reply too soon, and they'd accuse me of violating the non-compete, no matter how weak it was. Then one message stopped me. Lance Forrester, CEO of Ridgeline Logistics, owns a custom Falcon 2000. Katie, I need your help. Plane failed inspection. Avionics dock flagged. You didn't do that install, right? Tell me you didn't. I stared at the screen. I'd prepped that install months earlier. I ran the grounding test myself, double-checked voltage tables, but the final software update happened after I was removed and replaced by Alyssa. I responded carefully. Hey, Lance, sorry to hear that. I'm no longer with the company. I can't talk shop, but let me buy you a coffee. He replied almost instantly. Name the place. We met at a diner off Tower Road. Midday, quiet. He wore jeans and a hoodie, looked exhausted. He sat without greeting me. FAA called me directly, said the update file was missing a version tag. The inspector thought it was spoofed. I nodded slowly. It wasn't spoofed, but it was done too quickly. By who? I can't say. He looked at me, jaw tight. You didn't mess it up. No, I said, but someone else might not know how to verify the metal log. He rubbed his eyes. I need this resolved. You know that aircraft better than anyone. I kept my voice steady. I can't work on it directly, but I can tell you what to request, what to document, and what to show. That's as a friend, not as a tech. He pulled out a legal pad. I moved my coffee aside and leaned in. Start with the maintenance event ID from the last avionics update. Cross-check it against the component install log. If they don't match, that's the root problem. He sighed. They told me everything looked good, then they don't understand the log. We talked for about 20 minutes. Nothing confidential, nothing tied to Summit Jet. I only walked him through the steps to resolve his own issue. When we left, he finally looked calmer. That night, 7 more messages came in. One from a Gulfstream owner in Scottsdale, another from a charter manager in Reno. All carried the same tone. Polite concern, like something was clearly off but no one wanted to say it outright. One guy wrote, "Heard you're gone. If that's true, that's unfortunate. You were why we stayed." I didn't boast, and I didn't reply quickly. I kept it careful. Appreciate the kind words, just taking a breather. But I understood what was happening. In aviation, trust travels faster than official updates. And once trust breaks, people look for whoever actually knows the work. I didn't pursue any of them. They reached out to me. I was sorting torque specs when my friend Josh called. Got someone you should meet, he said. Not a recruiter, not corporate, just a guy with hangar space who doesn't tolerate nonsense. I didn't ask much. I went. The place sat off the main strip near Centennial Airport, one of those industrial hangars that look plain from outside but run efficiently inside. Clean floors, organized benches, real tools, no showpieces. Josh led me to an office where a man in his late 40s leaned back with gas station coffee. "Monroe," he said. "Mick Daly. Heard you got pushed out. Word travels fast. Faster than fuel leaks." He didn't waste time. Within minutes, we were talking inspections, mod logs, protocol gaps, and shops still using outdated 2019 config files. I didn't hold back. A lot of places are cutting corners and hoping paperwork carries them through audits. Mick nodded. And I'm guessing you've got the equipment to handle it, right? I shrugged. I've got more in my garage than many hangars I've worked in. He leaned in. I've got a setup here. Small team, solid name, but low profile by choice. What I'm missing is someone like you. I tilted my head. What exactly are you offering? 50% of billables, he said. Full use of the space, full tool access, and legal protection if Summit tries anything. I paused. Independent contractor? Completely, he said. Build your own work inside mine. No politics, no leash. Your name, your clients, your control. It sounded almost unreal. I asked him directly, why me? Because people don't panic when any random mechanic leaves. They panic when the one holding everything together walks out. And from what I hear, that was you. I leaned back. I've got a non-compete, sort of. It's weak, but I'm not looking to get dragged into court. You won't, he said. They're bluffing. You didn't recruit anyone. They're coming to you. That's lawful. And if they push, my attorney handles NDAs like breakfast. Still, I didn't accept immediately. Not fear, just caution. Too many promises turn into problems. Then my phone buzzed. Lance Forrester sent an official work request through Altitude Aero. Needed help recertifying the Falcon. FAA wanted third-party validation. You in? I read it twice. He had already contacted Mick. Already added me. I looked up. Was this your move? Mick smirked. I only gave him the form, didn't say who'd read it, and that's when it clicked. This was the right step. Clean, legal. No poaching, no shortcuts. If I worked through Altitude, it was a new platform. I wasn't pulling clients through a side door. I was standing at a new one openly. I nodded. I want everything clean. No questionable paperwork. All official. Mick raised his coffee. That's how I operate. Then let's move forward, I said. Within 24 hours, I had a signed contract, full hangar access, and my first invoice issued. Not bad for someone they tried to replace. The hangar barely went dark that week. I slept in 4-hour stretches, half on a cot Mick brought in, half fueled by adrenaline. Lance's Falcon arrived first. We ran diagnostics, and the avionics board flagged 3 major issues. Not small things. Real compliance failures, missing verification stamps, incomplete voltage sign-offs, and one component marked as NA in the firmware log. I knew exactly what happened. Someone rushed the update, skipped validation, and approved it anyway. Maybe Alyssa. Maybe a junior tech she suddenly supervised. Either way, it wasn't just a mistake. It was negligence. I retested everything, submitted a proper compliance document, and walked Lance through the corrected sign-off. He looked at me like the aircraft had been pulled back from a serious problem. FAA told me one more flight and we'd have been grounded and fined, he said. He didn't say which company, but both of us knew it wasn't mine. He switched to Altitude Aero the next morning. The same day, a fleet manager in Phoenix called. Their Learjet failed an inspection because someone missed a mandatory airworthiness directive that took effect 6 weeks earlier. I had flagged that directive months back. SummitJet clearly didn't. Can you fix this? He asked. I said yes before he finished. The more I examined, the worse it became. Calibration checks skipped, software patches incomplete, power cycle resets logged but not done. All backdated sloppily as if nobody would review them. And then the detail that ignited everything. Word spread that Chad promoted Alyssa to lead tech. The trade forums reacted instantly. Mechanics posted screenshots. Some shared hangar footage of her posing with planes, filming shallow walkthroughs, giving advice like, you don't need to torque it if it's hand tight. I stayed silent. I didn't have to say anything. Within days, 2 major clients left SummitJet. One had been with them more than 10 years. Both moved to Altitude and insisted I manage all inspections personally. Meanwhile, an old coworker told me 3 mechanics walked out after an argument with Chad. 2 clients filed formal FAA complaints. SummitJet tried to spin a story about internal restructuring, but nobody believed it. The truth was spreading fast. That's when I created the bulletin. Simple weekly PDF sent only by request. I called it the Compliance Pulse. No secrets, no proprietary data, just FAA updates, common oversights, recent policy shifts, and technical reminders. Every tip came from a real issue I had corrected that week. I never mentioned SummitJet, but everyone understood. Each bullet point landed like a caution sign. Double-check avionics software tags after installation, verify torque act, do logs match physical component resets. 80-20-25, ensure 1302 is active. Confirm compliance before the next leg. Within 72 hours, client requests had tripled. Mick's phone was blowing up. "You know they're going to come after you soon," he said, handing me another service request form. "You're embarrassing them, and people like Chad don't play defense. They go straight for the throat." "I'm not scared," I said, taking the clipboard. "Doesn't matter. Document everything." I already was. Every call, every form, every installed part. I had backups of backups, timestamped logs, paper trails, signed invoices. I wasn't just building a business, I was building armor. They tried to cut me out. Now they were losing clients by the hour, and I hadn't even fully started. The envelope arrived by courier, hand-delivered like it mattered. Mick handed it to me in the break room. "Summit Jet," he said flatly. "Cease and desist." Called it. I opened it. 4 pages of inflated corporate accusations, violating my non-compete, misappropriating proprietary systems, soliciting Summit Jet clients. Mick was already texting our legal team. "They're bluffing," I said, scanning the pages. "I haven't contacted a single client. They all came to me." "You don't need to tell me," he said, "but you're not the audience. Let the lawyers handle it." 2 hours later, we were on a call with Mick's attorney, Shannon. Sharp, gravelly voice. "They've got nothing," she said. "No formal documentation proving these systems are theirs. No evidence of direct solicitation. If anything, they're violating agreements by weaponizing an unenforceable contract to cover their own incompetence." I almost smiled. "Say that louder," I joked. She laughed. "Keep every call logged, every email saved. We'll hit them with a reply this week." The reply went out 2 days later, clean, direct, full of evidence. Copies of my original handwritten templates, timestamps of system builds, proof Summit never uploaded or adopted my protocols, and client emails showing they came to me, not the other way. Then something unexpected happened. The State Aviation Board contacted them, not us. 2 client complaints had triggered a formal inquiry into sloppy compliance and falsified inspection data. FAA tags signed off without proper technician IDs. Federal level stuff. Mick pulled me aside. "They're circling the drain, Katie. Stay clean. Keep it legal. Don't gloat. Don't post." I wasn't planning to. 2 days later, Chad stormed into our hangar. Didn't call, didn't knock, just barged past the front desk screaming my name. "Katie, you think this is funny? Think you'll burn down the company and walk away clean?" I didn't look up, kneeling on a Challenger brake line rebuild. Mick stepped in. "You're trespassing. Back off." "I want her out of this industry," Chad snapped. "She's violating contracts. Slandering." Shannon entered. "Now you've added harassment and intimidation to a case already falling apart. Keep talking." Chad turned red, pointing at me. "She stole clients. She stole systems. She's nothing without Mick. Cut him off. You're done." Security came quietly, escorted him out while he ranted about lawsuits and revenge. What he didn't know, cameras captured it all. Multiple angles, audio, in 4K. 2 hours later, video uploaded anonymously to a private aviation forum. The reaction was instant. Comments: "This guy runs compliance? No wonder clients are leaving. That mechanic handled it like a pro. Summit Jet is done." Within a week, 9 more clients left Summit Jet. One called me. "I saw the video. That's who's running their shop." "I'm out." I kept it short. "We're happy to help. You'll be in good hands." Inside, I savored the win. Not revenge, but the truth finally louder than their lies. Summit Jet wanted a war. They chose the wrong opponent. 3 days after Chad's meltdown, I got a message. Anonymous, plain text from a junior Summit Jet tech. "We're submitting compliance logs this week for the DHS contract. The avionics software logs are based on your old documentation. Alyssa never updated the software stack. None matches FAA templates. If these go through, someone gets fined, or worse." Jaw locked. This wasn't an oversight. A $10 million government fleet contract was using my 3-year-old data, hand-built, never officially submitted, never approved for long-term use. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Whoever sent it wasn't asking for a fix. They were offloading guilt. But I knew who could act. That same day, I called Joyce Martin. She ran one of Colorado's largest private aircraft holding companies and sat on the state compliance board. Years of collaboration, never ask favors. "Hey," I said, "take a closer look at the logs Summit Jet's submitting for the DHS project. They're not real." "No questions. Just got it." Then she hung up. 48 hours later, the contract was frozen pending review. Panic started. SummitJet spun a public statement blaming clerical errors. Behind the scenes, emergency lawsuits in 3 counties, one naming me personally. I walked into Mick's office holding the court packet. "Well, here we go." "No flinching?" he asked. "No," I said, "but let's do it anyway." He called in Stevens and Hale, aviation law specialists. Expensive, precise, knew the regulations and how to make legal noise without getting dirty. Step 1, discovery. We turned over everything. My notebooks, scanned templates, timestamped Dropbox files, compliance pulse tips, and an email showing I had offered updated versions to SummitJet years prior. Step 2, depositions. Their attorneys tried to portray me as a rogue employee holding back crucial systems. Every time they referenced policy, our attorneys produced receipts. Show where this was integrated. Show one sign transfer. Show the IP clause. You can't. In court, their argument collapsed. The judge asked one question. You're suing her for using documents she developed, which your company never adopted, claimed, or maintained, even though she offered them? Their lawyer stammered. Yes, but... The judge raised a hand. I've heard enough. This isn't about intellectual property. It's about embarrassment. The court won't be used for revenge. Case dismissed. She didn't stop there. Sanctions against SummitJet's legal team for wasting court resources, and a recommendation for the compliance board to expand its investigation. Mick and I walked out silently, shook hands, exhaled. By the time we returned to the hangar, the trade forums had the news. SummitJet lawsuit dropped. Judge rebukes misuse of legal system. Case dismissed. Katie Monroe clears her name. DHS contract suspended. Pending audit findings. Clients read every word. So did text. So did everyone in the industry who'd ever looked the other way. While idiots like Chad failed upward, I didn't celebrate. I went back to my bench, pulled on my gloves, and got to work. Because when you're the person people trust, the job doesn't end when the storm passes. You build quietly and let everyone else talk. I was mid-inspection on a Gulfstream when Joyce called. "Need you in a meeting," she said. "Downtown boardrooms booked. Big players." "About what?" I asked. "SummitJet. There's an offer on the table." That was enough. I wiped my hands, threw on a jacket, and drove into the city. The room was full. Joyce sat at the head, flanked by reps from 5 major charter firms, 2 independent fleet owners, and 3 holding companies, former SummitJet clients, most now with Altitude. Nobody smiled. Joyce got straight to it. SummitJet's assets are rotting, but some value remains. Hangar leases, parts inventory, a few techs who haven't quit. We have a chance to take control before it all burns. Doyle, an old-school former client, cut in. Why shouldn't we let it burn? They humiliated the industry, covered up safety risks, weaponized lawsuits, all under Chad's name. A woman nodded. They gambled with government contracts. Let the FAA bury them. Another voice spoke up. Or we act like professionals. Salvage what's left, set new terms, and make sure this never happens again. 20 minutes of debate. Half wanted revenge. Half wanted stability. Nobody wanted Chad or Alyssa involved again. Joyce raised her hand. There's a proposal, full buyout of SummitJet's remaining assets under a joint holding group. Clean rebrand, new oversight, but it only passes with a unanimous vote. All eyes turned to me. She's not on the board, someone muttered. Joyce replied firmly, she's earned a vote. You wouldn't be here if not for her. I didn't flinch. Fine, Doyle said. Let's hear her thoughts. I leaned forward. We buy it, but on our terms. 1, Chad forfeits all equity, no payout, no stake. 2, Alyssa is permanently disqualified from any certified aviation role. Tech, admin, she can do marketing, but never touch maintenance logs. 3, staff who want out get clean severance, no lawsuits, no gag orders. 4, all compliance data audited by an independent team before transfer. Silence. Then a quiet voice. That's fair. Doyle looked ready to punch a wall, but stayed silent. Joyce nodded. Final vote. Hands went up, some grudgingly, some immediately. Even Doyle lifted his. All right, Joyce said. Katie, send the terms to my office, draft, and submit by midnight. I was walking out when my phone rang. Block number. This is Katie? A calm, tired voice said. William Monroe, Chad's father. I read the proposal. I accept the terms. You didn't ask for anything unreasonable. Honestly, I would have gone harder. I stopped. I apologized for what happened. For my son and the company, I let him run it too long. I'm not interested in apologies, I said. Just results. You'll get them. He hung up. 1 week later, Chad was gone. No announcement, no posts, vanished from the industry. Alyssa's LinkedIn went dark. Summit Jet, by month's end, wasn't Summit Jet anymore. Just inventory, warehouses, parts, and a few techs following checklists. We took it all, rebuilt it right, not for revenge, but because people still cared about doing the job properly, and I was going to make sure nobody forgot who made it happen. The offer arrived in a manila folder. Mick slid it across my bench, on top of the torque wrench. You've earned it. Full equity partnership. 40% stake, full vote, I stared. You serious? I built this place as much as you, maybe more. I didn't open it immediately. There's a condition, Mick said. What kind? I asked. We train people, I said. Real certifications, paid apprenticeships, skill-based promotions only. No more girlfriends with safety goggles pretending to know torque specs. Mick's grin spread. Deal. Altitude Aero wasn't boutique anymore. 2-month waitlist, 4 certified inspectors on payroll, our own compliance software. No ads, no chasing clients. They came to us. 6 months later, I got an unexpected email. Request for mentorship, Alyssa Turner. My stomach twisted. She wrote she was enrolled in an FAA certified mechanics program, wanting to learn properly, no shortcuts. I read it 3 times, leaned back, exhaled, could have deleted it or responded harshly, but that wasn't the point anymore. I replied, finish your first round of CS. Show me you're serious. If you are, we'll talk. 5 minutes later, fair, I will. I told no one. Some things are handled quietly. 2 weeks later, backstage at the National Aircraft Compliance Summit, I held a flash drive with my slides. My name, Katie Monroe, Altitude Aero co-founder. Joyce found me. You ready? Yeah, I said. I've been ready for years. They just handed me the mic. Spotlight on, I stepped to the podium. New techs, inspectors, flight ops managers, some green, some jaded. I shared everything I wish someone had told me. Checklists aren't paperwork. They're life support. Covering for shortcuts catches up. Job titles don't equal competence. Competence doesn't always get credit until it does. I closed with what mattered most. Trust. Earn it, and everything else follows. The room was silent. They heard me. Back at my desk, window cracked to hear the turbine hum. White walls, metal trim, battered wooden desk. But the view. Denver International, clear skies, planes moving like clockwork. Across the tarmac, the old Summit Jet hangar now read, Monroe Technical Institute. Flipped 6 months ago. Funding split between Altitude Aero, state grants, and me. First class, 12 students, 4 women, 3 veterans, 5 who'd aged out of factory work but wanted to build something meaningful. The building once felt like an ending. Now it felt like a beginning. Framed on my wall, Aviation Monthly headline, Monroe Aviation Solutions, most trusted firm in the mountain region. Not ego. Trust is the only currency that pays. My phone buzzed. New client landing at 11. Referral from Dale Packer, one of the first. Corporate jet Gulfstream G280 in Texas. Compliance check and full maintenance audit. Nothing small. Good. I stood, grabbed the folder, straightened my jacket. This wasn't revenge or proving anything. That part was done. Now it was about ensuring the next generation wouldn't have to claw through the same walls. I opened the office door and stepped into the hallway, voice steady in my head. You don't have to steal power. You just have to be the one people trust when things fall apart.